How's it going, ladies and Bruce's? I'm Sixkilla and welcome back to Route Double. In the last one we just had a huge revelation that Yuri is gone. It was a figment of his imagination and died 9 years ago, and his denial had persisted in his mind as a hallucination of her existence ever since. And he's very angry that Machido went along with it, and we are now peeking into her memories with his BC abilities. Inside that memory was Natsuhiko himself in his childhood days. When is this memory from? Once he pondered that question, a date just popped into Natsuhiko's head. He naturally knew just when that event had happened, as if he was recalling his own memories. July 7th, 2021. Wait, that date. This is Mashido's memory of right before Yuri and I went to Labo. Inside the memory, Natsuhiko and Mashido spoke. We're going to Labo to save Mum. Mashido's eyes opened wide at those words. Stop it, Natsuhiko, it's dangerous. You shouldn't go to a place like that. Why not? There are rumors that they do dangerous research there, you know. And besides, radiation comes out of there, so you can never go inside. Dad told me so. Huh? What's wrong, Mashido? You chicken? Well, fine, I guess I'll go ask Yuri then. What's that supposed to mean? Lately you've been Yuri this and Yuri that. Mashido loved Yuri too, and thought of her as a close friend despite their age difference. But for some reason, Mashido didn't like it whenever Natsuhiko said Yuri's name. What? Don't tell me you're jealous. But you're just a tomboy. She could feel her cheeks turn red as the blood rushed to her head. Fine, I don't care about you anymore, Natsuhiko. Go buzz off with Yuri and see if I care. Mashido ended up yelling those words. Those words she would later come to regret for years and years. And after that, Natsuhiko and Yuri went to Labo. Mashido had no idea what happened there. 3 days later, Mashido came to the park by herself. She thought it was about time for her to make up with Natsuhiko. She was going to apologize when she saw him at school, but neither Natsuhiko nor Yuri had attended since the day before yesterday, so she never had a chance. It was just another one of our little fights, right? Things will be back to normal after we play for a day, won't they? When she and Natsuhiko played alone, neither ever yielded, but whenever Yuri was with them, things would be okay. If Yuri were there to bind them together, then they'd definitely be able to make up soon. And with that plan in mind, Mashido waited. But Natsuhiko just wasn't coming, it seemed. Even though he almost always showed up around this time. Should I go to Natsuhiko's place? Eventually, Mashido muttered that and walked off. Once she reached Natsuhiko's house, she tried pressing the doorbell, but nobody came. There was no response no matter how many times she pushed the button. That's strange. Excuse me, is anybody home? The moment she spoke up, she heard a voice from behind her. Mashido? She turned around in shock to see Natsuhiko's mother, Dr. Miyoko Tenkawa, standing there. Ah, Professor! When Mashido called her by that name, the professor spoke to her in a tired voice. What's wrong? I came here to see Natsuhiko, but he doesn't seem to be in. Where did he go? You haven't heard yet, have you? Heard what? Natsuhiko's in the hospital. Hospital? There was a fire at Labo and he and Yuri got caught in it. Was he hospitalized? Yuri was with him, so is Yuri in the hospital too? Yuri's no longer with us. With a dark expression on her face, the professor stepped up to Mashido and held her by the shoulders as she spoke slowly. Mashido, you see, after she was rescued, Yuri never woke up. And last night... Huh? The moment she heard those words, Mashido felt her peaceful days come crashing to an end. Mashido cried a whole day after that. By the time she attended Yuri's funeral, she'd run out of tears. But 1 week after that, tears would spill out every time she remembered what happened. Mashido sobbed as she waited for the bus to go to the hospital. No matter how much she cried, she would not recover from the sadness of losing a dear friend. Yuri had an ever gentle smile on her face. Yuri had told her she was cute, even when nobody else would treat her like a girl. Yuri had praised her cooking whenever they played house. Yuri was the gentlest, cutest girl that Mashido wanted to be, and Mashido could still not believe that she was gone. But even as sadness filled Mashido's heart, just one other thing remained. Her worry for Natsuhiko. I wonder if Natsuhiko's okay. Natsuhiko didn't attend Yuri's funeral. He was apparently still in the hospital. He hadn't come to school at all. I gotta go pay him a visit. Mashido wiped her tears as the bus arrived. As she got off the bus in front of the hospital, Mashido went through reception and headed to Natsuhiko's room. Inside the hospital room, Natsuhiko was lying on the bed. Beside him was Dr. Tenkawa. Professor? Ah, Mashido. You came to visit, didn't you? Thank you for taking the time. No problem. Is Natsuhiko asleep? Natsuhiko, you see... The professor glanced at Natsuhiko. Mashido peeked at Natsuhiko's face and gasped. He wasn't sleeping. He was lying down with his eyes wide open. But there was no light in those eyes, he just stared blankly at the air. Natsuhiko? No answer. Natsuhiko? No answer. Hey, what's wrong, Natsuhiko? Can't you hear me? Hey! As Mashido shouted in confusion, Dr. Tenkawa answered in his son's stead. He can't hear you. Huh? It's been like that ever since he learned about Yuri's death. It's not just you, Mashido. He won't respond to anyone. Not me, nor the doctors. He couldn't come to terms with the truth and he shut his mind away. No. Mashido looked at Natsuhiko in blank amazement. His gaze pointed off somewhere and far into the distance. Mashido left the hospital in disbelief. As she headed home, her head swirled with various thoughts and feelings, but the strongest feeling of them all was regret. Yuri went to Labo in my stead and died because of it. That's why Natsuhiko's like that. Mashido's heart was torn apart by the regret of what she could never undo. She couldn't think of a way to dispel that regret. At least until Natsuhiko returns to normal, She resolved to put everything she had into watching over Natsuhiko. She didn't care if it was merely serving as a replacement for Yuri or about anything else. Mashido swore to herself that she would watch over him. Mashido frequently visited Natsuhiko after that. She prayed for the day he'd regain consciousness. Natsuhiko, how are you doing today? Well, today, you see, I was practicing BC, right? I actually successfully used telepathy for the first time. That means I'm finally ability level 1. I started using telepathy before you did, Natsuhiko. Aren't I amazing? No matter how much Mashido spoke, Natsuhiko would not respond. But even so, she would still come to speak with him, as she believed it was the only way to bring him back to reality. Man, Natsuhiko, I'm so bored this summer break. Last year we had a test of courage, we freed Sirius, we investigated the 7 Wonders, and lots of other stuff. Nothing happens without you around, Natsuhiko, it's so boring. But even as time passed, and the summer break arrived, nothing changed. Actually, something kind of surprising happened today. You see, there's this boy in the other class, and he sent me this letter and it said he liked me. Hey, Natsuhiko, what should I do? Though the world around Mashido was changing, time remained still for Natsuhiko. I ended up rejecting the boy who sent the letter. I mean, I don't really understand all that stuff. Like what it means to like someone. Mashido strained to prevent her world from changing so that she wouldn't slip too far from Natsuhiko's time. And in the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. That day, Mashido visited Natsuhiko's hospital room. Today at school, the boy was asking if you were still in the hospital. Your mum doesn't let anyone else visit but me, you see. Everyone's really worried since they haven't seen you in 3 months. You really are popular, you know. Still no response. Everyone's waiting for you to be discharged. No matter how much she talked to him, there was no response. Eventually, hey, say something, Natsuhiko. Her voice rang out from the bottom of her heart and echoed through the hospital room. I'm waiting for you to come back, Natsuhiko. Now that Yuri's gone, I've been all alone. Mashido suddenly realized just how much her own voice was trembling. Her vision had blurred before she noticed. Natsuhiko? Mashido touched Natsuhiko's cheek. He was right there, yet they couldn't exchange words. She could only guess what he was thinking. Mashido whispered by herself in the tiny room. It's so lonely, Natsuhiko. I want to play with you like we did back then. I want to fight with you over stupid things. Mashido was already past the point where she had any hope for an answer. Her sobs echoed through the quiet hospital room. But then... she heard the voice she'd been waiting to hear. Huh? Mashido gasped and looked at Natsuhiko in disbelief. Huh? Natsuhiko looked around, confused. The light had returned to his eyes. Eventually those eyes fell on Mashido. Mashido? He called out her name. Natsuhiko. Natsuhiko twitched at the sudden shout. Huh? What? No, where am I? Natsuhiko appeared unaware that he was in a hospital. Mashido grasped Natsuhiko's hand and answered, You're in the hospital. You don't remember? Ah, that's right. Yuri and I got caught in the fire in Labo. Yeah. He appeared to be gradually recalling the circumstances. Mashido softly spoke to him, holding back all the words she wanted to say so they wouldn't overflow. Natsuhiko, you've been in the hospital ever since then, you know? I've been coming here to visit you. I see. Thank you. It's not that big a deal. What matters is that you're back. I'm sorry, I must have made you worry. Natsuhiko spoke apologetically. Mashiro wiped her tears and smiled. I said it's no big deal. More importantly, I gotta call the professor. She needs to know you've woken up. That's true. Besides, Natsuhiko smiled as he spoke. I'm sure Yuri's worried too. The air froze in the hospital room. Huh? Yuri, she'll be waiting for me at home. Natsuhiko? An ominous premonition arose from the pit of Mashiro's stomach. She asked him again in a rough voice. What makes you say that? Well, I just remembered what happened when they carried me to the hospital. I nearly died from breathing too much smoke, but Yuri was safe, wasn't she? So Mum told me Yuri didn't have to be hospitalized. That was an impossible memory. Natsuhiko had shut his mind after he learned about Yuri's death, and Natsuhiko appeared to believe what he had just said from the bottom of his heart. Hey, Natsuhiko, you didn't forget, did you? Forget what? You see, Yuri's already... She's already gone, you know? Natsuhiko looked at Mashiro with blank eyes. Gone? Gone where? Like I said, because of the fire, Yuri breathed in too much smoke and she died. Once Mashiro repeated herself, Natsuhiko suddenly grimaced. Natsuhiko, what's wrong? My head just started to... it hurts. Natsuhiko, are you okay? Natsuhiko? Natsuhiko groaned for a while, but eventually his face slackened, as if he were at peace. It doesn't hurt anymore. I see, that's good. What was that just now? Natsuhiko tilted his head. Mashiro had no answer. She had the feeling that Natsuhiko's headache was no ordinary headache. Mashiro's body trembled from an unknown fear. Well, whatever. Anyway, gotta go call them. Huh? You gotta tell them I'm awake, right? Besides, I'm sure Yuri's worried too. Once she heard those words, Mashiro finally understood. Natsuhiko had still not returned to reality. He'd become emotionally unstable. Natsuhiko. Mashiro called out his name. She called out the name of her friend, who looked the same on the outside, but was completely different. The tears she had wiped away had come back. Natsuhiko looked at her quizzically. Mashiro? Why are you crying? Those were Mashiro's memories from 9 years ago. As he peered into them, Natsuhiko's mind shook with surprise. What is this? Did that really happen? Without me even being aware of it? Natsuhiko himself had memories of how he was hospitalized after the fire, but what Natsuhiko remembered was completely different. So you're saying I was completely comatose for 3 whole months? Then what happened after that? How did Mashiro handle me? As soon as he had the desire to know the answer to that question, another vision rose before his eyes. The next thing Natsuhiko saw was far further ahead into the future than what he last saw, a memory of the recent past. Natsuhiko naturally knew just how much time had passed. It's 9 years after that day, huh? Indeed, it was a memory of just about a week ago. Mashiro was making breakfast in the Tenkawa kitchen as usual. And soon enough, she heard the living room door open as Natsuhiko greeted her. Good morning. Good morning. Mashiro returned the greeting and quickly continued cooking. The newscaster on TV was rambling in a matter-of-fact tone of voice. Next on the news, early this morning, Rokume City's BC Training Centre received objectionable literature from an extremist group. A connection to the recently held BC seminar was also identified. The police are now working within the city security department to... Soon she heard Natsuhiko's voice mix in with the voice on the TV. Good morning, Yuri. Mashiro turned around. Good morning, Yuri. But of course nobody was there. And Natsuhiko acknowledged that Yuri had entered the room. Mashiro merely played along. Breakfast is just about done. Mashiro distributed the food to Natsuhiko and Yuri without any panic in particular. Over the course of the past half year, Mashiro had completely gotten the hang of things. What's on the menu today? Hash browns, bacon and eggs, salad, omelets and orange juice. Damn, what a breakfast. A classic all-American breakfast. Wow, starting the day off with a full meal, huh? During that exchange, Natsuhiko was probably hearing Yuri's voice. Even at this point in time, he had still not accepted her death. He didn't just hear her voice, he always seemed to see an illusion of Yuri. Charles Bonnet syndrome, huh? Mashiro remembered the name of a condition she had read in a book before. Charles Bonnet syndrome, a general term for a phenomenon that occurs due to an abnormality of information transfer in the brain. Even if the person is mentally normal, they suffer symptoms including visual hallucinations. Often the cause is physical trauma to the brain. When Natsuhiko got caught in the fire, he likely inhaled large volumes of carbon monoxide. I guess that damaged his brain and caused him to hallucinate. That was what Mashido figured. But aside from that one detail, Natsuhiko was completely normal. As long as he didn't come into contact with the truth of the past, he would live a calm, peaceful days. Now then, boys and girls, put your hands together. Thanks for the food. And thus another morning began. Mashido secretly used empathy on Natsuhiko, upon which he had heard Yuri's voice, as Natsuhiko heard it in his brain. Yeah, but it's delicious, just like you'd expect from Mashidon. Yeah, it's amazing how you can make all of this in such a short amount of time. Oddly enough, using empathy on Natsuhiko allowed Mashido to hear Yuri's voice, as Natsuhiko heard it. Mashido smiled at Natsuhiko. I'm just used to it. I mean, I have been doing this for over half a year now. Yeah, I am used to it. I've been doing this for years. It took 5 years to train herself to that level of ability. At this point in time, Mashido had gained the equivalent of an ability level 5. She was able to use empathy smoothly and naturally without the need to concentrate too hard, nor the need to sacrifice her hearing. There were likely very few communicators with the same level of ability as her in the entire nation. The reason Mashido was able to obtain such power despite only having rank B aptitude was perhaps out of sheer force of will. Her will to know Natsuhiko's mind. That was what granted her ability beyond her aptitude. Empathy allowed her to glimpse of Natsuhiko's world whenever she wished. Huh? Hikaru? You barely touched your food. Does your tummy hurt? Ah, no, I'm fine. I just wanted to savor the food as I ate. Really? That's good. I might not look it, but I got a sturdy body. I've always got a healthy appetite. With that answer, Natsuhiko stuffed his cheeks with bread. Oh, I like how you eat, Natsuhiko. Makes all that effort worth it. The conversation concluded without any issue. Yuri certainly still existed, but at least within the four walls of the house. Even if her existence was a fragile illusion built upon the foundation of countless lies. Naturally, Mashido was unbearably reluctant to peek into Natsuhiko's mind without permission, but she chose to play along with Natsuhiko's story, even if she meant she had to overcome her guilty conscience. But that was the only way she could remain by his side. 9 years ago, she took an oath upon herself to watch over Natsuhiko until he returned to his old self. Mashido stayed true to that oath even now. Hallucinations weren't Natsuhiko's only issues. The more serious matter at hand was his panic disorder. One wrong move and Natsuhiko would come close to noticing Yuri's death, causing him to display symptoms including intense headaches and heart palpitations. In extreme cases, his memories would go into disarray, and he'd begin to ignore reality. Aside from hospital staff, only Mashido and Dr. Tenkawa knew about his condition. If only he could gradually improve. The most effective treatment for this kind of condition was said to be family therapy, that is, for the family to treat the patient with devoted support for their condition. I have to play the role of family in the professor's place. It was what Dr. Tenkawa had requested due to her frequent absence from home. Natsuhiko spoke apologetically to Mashido despite having been left in the dark. But still, sorry for making you do this all the time, Mashido. What do you mean? Your mother pays me after all, so it's kind of like a part-time job. And besides, it's not like I do it for you or anything. If I have to say, I do it more for Yuri. Right, Yuri? As Mashido said that, she secretly thought to herself, I do it for Yuri, huh? Mashido did indeed suffer a deep wound after losing her close friend. She was honestly happy she could still talk to the deceased Yuri by using empathy on Natsuhiko. But naturally, that couldn't be her only reason. And what have all these 9 years been for? Not even Mashido quite knew herself. It couldn't be explained simply by the words atonement or regret. No, I just want Natsuhiko to return to how he used to be. That's all. Because that's just about all I can do. As Mashido silently recited her convictions, she looked at Natsuhiko, and the boy who gazed at the phantom of a dead girl without ever second-guessing himself. But naturally, it was not as if she had any complaints about the current Natsuhiko. He had become so quiet that he seemed to be a completely different person, but Mashido believed that the old Natsuhiko was still there at his core. But even so, once they came to a certain place where they'd shared memories long past, she couldn't help but feel her heart tear in two. Mashido, I don't know how to say this, but you're a good person. That's what Natsuhiko had said as they returned from their field trip. His embarrassed expression was the same as how he was as a boy. Something suddenly tightened in Mashido's chest, forcing her to look away. What are you talking about? I'm just copying what you did back in the day. Really? Was I really that good a guy back then? Well, I think you still are a pretty good guy, Natsuhiko. Your one weakness is that you can get stubborn sometimes, though. Maybe, I guess. Natsuhiko scratched his head in contemplation. Fine, you win, Mashido. I'll try to lower my guard at least a little. Yeah, that should be good enough. This'll have to do for now and all. What's that, another anime quote? Yeah, one from way before we were born, though. When Mashido smiled, Natsuhiko smiled back. As she looked at his smile, Mashido secretly thought to herself, yeah, this'll have to do for now. Mashido could do nothing but watch him, watch over him and support him. She didn't do it to boast, nor did she want Natsuhiko to know what she was doing or how she felt. As such, perhaps she really was doing it for Natsuhiko's sake. Her inconsistencies were endless. Nevertheless, Mashido thought that she would stay by his side like this forever. This is for the best. If I don't at least believe that I'm doing the right thing, then everything I'm doing for Natsuhiko will really be all for nothing. Let's leave it at that for now. Those days would eventually come to an end. Their daily life would one day collapse, but there was indeed peace within that life. Like their nostalgic chat in the park, illuminated by the glow of the setting sun. Even if that peace were only temporary, it was an irreplaceable treasure to her. Hey Natsuhiko? I'm kinda glad we talked about all these things today. Let's come here again sometime when we got time. Yeah, every now and then, I guess. As Natsuhiko muttered that, a gentle breeze enveloped him. Mashido gazed at his face from the side and silently prayed. If only this moment of peace could last forever. We're going back. And then the visions within the memories faded. Natsuhiko returned to reality as if he'd woken up from a dream. Before his eyes was a crying Mashido pushed against the wall. Apparently only a fleeting moment had passed in reality, but Natsuhiko had experienced 9 years of her life, and he shed endless tears. Natsuhiko? Mashido called out in confusion, but once he heard that voice, Natsuhiko silently brought her into a deep embrace. He could feel her body tensing up, but Natsuhiko embraced her even stronger as he spoke. Mashido, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Huh? You've always been there to support me, haven't you? You've always been there for me, right by my side. Mashido gasped at those words. How did you... I'm sorry, I did it without asking, but I read your memories with BC. Huh? My memories? Is that even... It is, I did it. It has to be some sort of new BC ability. But I wanted to know how you felt so bad, and then I saw your memories of 9 years up until today. And now I know everything. How my mind shattered when I lost Yuri. And how you were always there watching over me. That too? Yeah, and so I wanted to say... Natsuhiko paused there. He desperately held back his overwhelming emotions and squeezed out the words. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mashido. Tears came spilling out again. Natsuhiko recalled the words Yuri's phantom had whispered to him 6 days ago. So don't distrust those around you. If you must distrust someone, then distrust me. No matter what's the truth and what's a lie, you should be in the company of those with good intentions, shouldn't you? What Yuri said was true. Natsuhiko had always been protected by the people around him. For 9 whole years. And then Mashido. It's okay. Mashido had said that to him. You know, I've been worried this whole time. Worried? Yeah, I was worried that once you noticed the truth, the same thing that happened to you 9 years ago would happen again. But it didn't. You were able to accept the sadness. And I am happy just for that. Natsuhiko, you did well to withstand it. You worked so hard. Natsuhiko shook his head at those words. Mashido, the only reason I could withstand it was because of you. Because you were always there by my side. Yuri was the one by your side, wasn't she? No, thanks to you He had no more words. He just embraced Mashido tightly once more. An embrace filled with 9 years of feelings. Natsuhiko, I'm glad I could be there for you. Mashido returned the embrace. They remained in each other's arms for a while. Without words, without BC. How much time had they spent in each other's arms after that? Eventually Natsuhiko let go of Mashido and spoke up. Let's go, Mashido. Yeah, it's my duty to get you out of here, and that's a duty I swear I'll fulfill. But what about the card? There should be one in this area. I don't know how I know, but trust me. Yuri's phantom had said that Natsuhiko had merely overlooked it. He decided to trust in her words. Remember, I must have seen it. Where have I been? Where I've already seen a card? As soon as he pondered that question, a card's location flickered in his mind as if in a flashback. The stairwell next to the door. Let's go look, Mashido. Yeah. Natsuhiko and Mashido rushed out of the room and dashed to the stairwell. It was dark because the light had been broken. Natsuhiko and Mashido stared hard as they searched for the card together, and eventually, hidden in the pile of rubble, Natsuhiko spotted a rectangular object. Found one. Huh? Mashido looked at the card Natsuhiko had picked up. Written on it was the name Miyoko Tenkawa and the letters Level N. Mum's card? Why is it here? Maybe she dropped it when she evacuated. They couldn't know the details. However, Natsuhiko felt as if it was Yuri had left him this card. In any case, I'm sure we can use this to open the security gate. True, let's try it out immediately. Yeah. They dashed out of the stairwell, and they arrived at the gate that had been blocking their way. Natsuhiko swiped their newly found card through the gate's card slot. Please work. Please. Natsuhiko and Mashido huddled up and prayed. And as if their prayer had reached heaven, the gate slowly opened before them. Mashido looked at Natsuhiko with gleaming eyes. Alright, there should be an emergency escape in Area 6 this way. You can tell? We escaped through Area 6 9 years ago. A complicated smile formed across Mashido's face as she heard those words. Natsuhiko himself felt sad as he looked back the way he had come. Back at Area 5, where he and Yuri had been trapped that fateful day. And the same place where Yuri's illusion had vanished. But there was nothing there now. Should I turn it down a little? Yuri was no longer with them. Natsuhiko finally accepted that truth. Goodbye, Yuri, and bid her farewell. Mashido silently grasped Natsuhiko's hand. He grasped back. Let's go, Mashido. Yeah. The two of them exchanged those words and left Area 5, to part with the past and head toward the future. Natsuhiko looked at Mashido with wide eyes. There was blood on her right shoulder. Huh? What is this? A red stain grew on Mashido's clothes before their eyes. Mashido was shot? By who? From where? No, it burns. It hurts, Natsuhiko. Are you okay, Mashido? I'll treat it right. But right as Natsuhiko started to yell, guess it's harder to hit a moving target than you'd think. He heard a low voice from behind him. He turned around, and there by the open gate was a man with a gun. You! The man was wearing a rescue squad outfit. The man whose mission was supposedly to save lives was now giving Natsuhiko a look that could kill. We meet again, communicator. The man's voice sounded familiar. It was a voice I'd heard last night at the ruined factory. He's that terrorist? Did he chase after us? As soon as Natsuhiko made the connection, the man fired another shot. A sharp sound whizzed through the air right beside Natsuhiko's ear. He's trying to kill us. If we stay here, Mashido's gonna... Natsuhiko fled from the man, Mashido in his arms. Mashido cried out in pain due to her wound. Hang in there, Mashido. As he tried to voice his encouragement, Natsuhiko thought to himself, Sally said she was shot too. Was he the one who shot her? Sally said she knocked out the other two terrorists, but they saw 3 terrorists in the ruined factory. Then this man was the last one. Just then another gunshot rang out from behind them. If they didn't escape, they'd be killed. Natsuhiko frantically turned around the corner. There was a security gate on the other side. With Mashido still in his arms, he swiped the card through the slot. As the gate slowly opened, he heard footsteps coming from behind. Hurry up, open, damn it! But as Natsuhiko pleaded, he was suddenly interrupted by an intense pain. He could feel warm blood oozing out from his side. A bullet had apparently gouged out just a tiny bit of his flesh. Natsuhiko, a bullet just a scratch. At least that's what he told himself as he dashed to the other side of the gate. As he got to the other side, Natsuhiko pressed the open close button on the security gate panel to shut the gate. But it probably wouldn't buy them much more than a few seconds. He probably has a security card too. Natsuhiko rushed for the emergency staircase with Mashido in his arms. But the staircase was already destroyed. Damn it! Natsuhiko called the map to mind and searched for escape routes. We're currently at floor B2 of Area 6's inner ring. 9 years ago we escaped through the cargo lift. That was probably in the outer ring. When his thoughts had gotten that far, he heard sounds from outside the stairwell. It was the sound of the man opening the closed gate. Crap, he's gonna corner us. If they left the stairwell, the enemy would surely shoot them. But it was impossible for them to climb up to the surface with the staircase collapsed. Mashido grabbed Natsuhiko's arm. Her hand was trembling. The footsteps approached. There was no time. If we only had a moment of opening to get to the outer ring. Is there anything we can do? Anything to divert his attention? Natsuhiko thought for a second before an idea struck him. Focused hard and searched for the approaching man's characteristic brain waveform. The man was Type 5, a lone wolf detached from reality. Take this. Natsuhiko focused with all his might, sending forth intense telepathy. Stop! Yep. They heard the man scream from outside the stairwell. Natsuhiko held Mashido and ran out of the stairwell. The man was standing still with his hands against his ears just outside in the connecting passageway. That was my most intense telepathy yet. Can your brain withstand such a loud sound? Natsuhiko concentrated further and fired off even more telepathy. The power necessary for a range of over 2 kilometers, all at point blank range. Don't move! I'll wreck your brain. Wreck it, wreck it, wreck it, wreck it! The man fell to his knees in pain. It worked, or at least he thought. The man shot his gun without getting up. Natsuhiko shielded Mashido in his arms. Luckily, the bullet didn't hit them, but the man kept shooting recklessly. Shit! Natsuhiko ran without rest. Damn it, telepathy isn't going to cut it. Even if it causes him to falter, it won't take him down. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko rushed to the connecting passageway to the outer ring. A gunshot rang out from behind them. Mashido breathed painfully. Her eyes looked vacant, as if she were running a fever. Mashido, are you okay? Her answer was weak and ambiguous. Perhaps the sudden loss of blood was putting her into shock. If we don't escape quickly, Mashido's gonna... But escape alone was not enough. The terrorist's goal was to destroy the city. They were probably gonna cause a meltdown right after this. Even if they got Mashido out of there, even if Sally had already escaped. If the atomic dust scattered everywhere, then everyone would die before they could escape to a sufficient distance. In that case, what I need to do for the girls is... Intense determination filled Natsuhiko's heart, and then he slipped through the connecting passageway and approached Area 6's outer ring. The outer ring was like a spacious factory, a factory engulfed in flames. Natsuhiko recalled the sights of 9 years ago. Back then his mother took him there to escape. If I remember correctly, there's a cargo lift in the furthest part inside. Natsuhiko weaved his way through the flames, carrying Mashido in his arms. The blazing fires relentlessly assaulted them, scorching at their skin and clothes. Natsuhiko withstood the heat and pain as he rushed forward toward the emergency escape he knew to be there. He opened the security gate at the corner of the factory. Beyond the gate was a small room that was not at all different from how he remembered. The control panel next to the lift had buttons to control the door. When he pressed the open button, he heard the sound of the lift slowly descending. And then the door opened. So Mashido did survive. He chucked Mashido in it and sent it back up. Okay, it's working. Apparently the lift was set automatically to go down when the door opened and automatically go up when the door closed. Natsuhiko looked inside to find that you couldn't control the lift's movement from the inside. Guess it's because people aren't normally meant to ride this thing. Natsuhiko confirmed the setup and laid Mashido on the floor. He took off her blazer and tore up his own shirt. He tightly wrapped the torn cloth over her shoulder. Does it hurt? I'm sorry. I'm tending to your wound right now. Tending? It'd be bad if you bleed any more than this. Natsuhiko finished tending to the wound and put her blazer back on. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Mashido's consciousness seemed to be wearing thin, but nevertheless she seemed to notice something strange in either his voice or expression. Her vacant eyes glimmered with the light of doubt. But why now? We're escaping together so you could tend it outside. I can't do that, Mashido. I can't. Natsuhiko swallowed those words. Your wound could open during the time it takes to escape, right? That's why it's nothing big. Really? Natsuhiko looked to the lift without answering the question. Listen, Mashido. This lift can take you up to the surface. So first, you get on and escape. Huh? And you, Natsuhiko? Natsuhiko looked for an answer and... he lied. I read the man's mind and found something out. Sally came down to try and save us, and it looks like she got trapped. He wasn't sure, he only made it up so he could get Mashido to go out first. But without revealing any of that, Natsuhiko then spoke with sincerity. I'll escape after I save Sally. So I can't go with you now. You escape first and tell Mum everything. And Mashido looked at Natsuhiko and whispered sadly, Liar. Huh? I couldn't read your mind with empathy just now. You're closing your heart, aren't you? Hey, come on now, didn't you prohibit yourself from reading other people's minds without permission? This isn't the time for that. What's your real goal, Natsuhiko? Why are you staying? It's not a lie, I'm gonna save Sally. As Natsuhiko piled on the lies, Mashido spoke up with a tormented voice. Then I'm staying in the basement too. No, the terrorists are still wandering about the facility. I can't just take you with me, you'll be a burden. If you don't act quickly, he's gonna come here, so please just go. No, no! Masato shook her head like a child. Tears blotted her eyes. I don't want us to get separated. We just now finally connected. For the first time in 9 years, we can finally speak our true words. Masato clenched her fist and pounded Natsuhiko's chest. She pounded and pounded as she cried out. And now you're the one lying? To get away from me? That's too much, that's just too much. If you're not going to open your heart, then let me do what I want to. I'm going to have to bring that down, aren't I? Hang on. I'm going to save. I need that to go low so that she doesn't read my heart and stay here, right? Let's go to there. Masato wouldn't listen to what Natsuhiko had to say. It was because of the very fact that their hearts connected, but their intentions did not. And so Natsuhiko, he decided to at least tell her what his real intentions were. I don't want to get separated from you either. There's nobody I want to protect more than you. But to protect you... Natsuhiko? Masato spoke up in confusion. As he gazed at her, Natsuhiko recalled something he'd once heard. It was what his mother had said 9 years ago. This is a cargo lift. It can't go down to the basement floor from the ground floors, but it should go up the other way, even during incidents. It can't go down to the basement from the ground floors? So to protect Masato, I have no choice but to do this. As he muttered that, he pushed Masato into the lift. Natsuhiko ignored Masato's yelp as he pressed the button on the lift's control panel. What are you doing? The lift door shut in front of Masato as she panicked and stood up. Stop joking around. Open up, Natsuhiko. Natsuhiko? You could hear her voice from beyond the door. The lift could not be controlled from the inside. In just a matter of time, the lift would automatically take Masato up to the ground level. Natsuhiko placed a finger to his temple and sent her telepathy. Masato, thank you for everything. I'm glad we could be together. Natsuhiko? But this isn't our final farewell. I swear I'll come back alive. So wait for me up on the surface. You could tell Masato gasped. After a short moment of silence, her answer arrived. It's a promise, okay? Natsuhiko quietly nodded at those words. Soon enough, he heard the sound of the lift ascending. Natsuhiko pondered to himself as he heard that it would have been simple to escape with Masato, but since there were no other emergency escapes, the man would probably come here eventually. The bullet wound in Natsuhiko's side throbbed in pain. It's not enough to run away. If we don't prevent the meltdown, if we don't stop them, the city would be destroyed, except there's no nuclear reactor. Atomic dust would rain on Masato, Sario and his mother, Ina and Jun and everyone else. I can't let that happen. Natsuhiko stared intensely at the control panel and smashed it with all his strength. It cut his fist, but he kept hitting it with a crunch. It was completely destroyed. To prevent it from being repaired, Natsuhiko tore out the wiring connecting it to the wall and stuffed it in his pocket. Okay, now the terrorists couldn't chase Masato. Cut off the only emergency escape, meaning nobody else could get out of the basement. I won't escape. What I need to do now is not to escape, but to fight. To defeat that man and prevent the terrorist attack. To protect everybody's future. Just as Natsuhiko made that resolution, he felt a presence behind him. He looked back to see the man standing by the entrance of the small room. The man glared at Natsuhiko with his gun at his waist. Natsuhiko immediately focused and sent a full-force wave of telepathy with all his willpower. Stop! The man didn't falter one bit. Don't move! He tried one more time, but the man showed no hint of any change. It's not working. Is he withstanding it? Telepathy, eh? You caught me off guard back there, but it's not going to work again. And with that, the man leapt at Natsuhiko. The man grabbed him by the neck and pulled him with frightening strength. His fierce glare pierced Natsuhiko like a sword. What happened to the girl? Who gives a damn? The moment he answered that, the man's fist sank into Natsuhiko's gut. It felt as if his stomach had ruptured. He couldn't breathe. The man quietly scanned the room and took notice of the broken control panel. Clever kid. The man clicked his tongue and beat Natsuhiko in the face. Lights flashed before Natsuhiko's eyes, and for a moment his consciousness threatened to cut. He heard the man's voice through the ringing in his ears. You damn communicators really rubbed me the wrong way. So even a pack of monsters like you can value your friends, huh? I didn't know you monsters even had it in you. The man's voice was full of pitch black hate. Ina's words played back in Natsuhiko's ear. What supports Q's belief is the hatred of the unknown. The mere thought that they're not like us is enough to incite them to hate others, ostracize them and injure them. Their mentality is abnormal. It felt like he caught a glimpse of that mentality now. So Natsuhiko stood up to fight against that hatred. Of course we do. I don't know why you hate us so much. Communicators are people too. But we don't hate ordinary people without reason. We don't set towns on fire. We don't set bombs, and we don't shoot people indiscriminately either. We're not like you terrorists. Natsuhiko could hear the man gasp. Eventually the man smiled and his voice echoed. Well, no shit. No proper human would. But it's pretty ballsy of you to say that to my face, kid. Your kind killed over 100 people. Natsuhiko's eyes widened at those words. The man tightened his grip around Natsuhiko's neck and continued. Look, you communicator, even if you don't know it, I got a perfectly good reason to hate your kind. You have precious friends, right? But there was someone who was more precious to me than anyone else. What are you talking about? You don't know? Nah, of course you don't. What's one more dead kid in a list of 118 casualties? But that kid was my other half, my very mirror image. Weak but motivated, stupid but gentle, the very embodiment of light to me. But that light died and all that's left is a dark shadow. That's me. That's Watase Kasasagi. Burn that name into your ears. Carve it into your mind. Reflect on that name until the moment you die. Watase Kasasagi? It was a name he'd never heard before. Natsuhiko had no idea what the man was talking about. And the man didn't sweat the details as he slipped the gun out from his waist. At that moment, Natsuhiko froze. He's gonna shoot. All doubt flew away from his mind, and in his place, he recalled a conversation he'd once had with Salia. You threw that security guard today, didn't you? You think I can do that too? Dabbling in just a bit of martial arts won't help much, but there are techniques that even amateurs can use. If someone tries to grab you by the neck... as soon as he remembered, Natsuhiko's body moved on its own. He grabbed the man's wrist back, and nimbly wrapped around behind him. Yeah. The man braced his legs, but with a vigorous yell, yeah. Natsuhiko threw the man down. Gah! The man's body struck the floor. That was the Shihonage, the only technique Sally taught him. As he fell, something dropped from the man's pocket. A card with level N written on it. A security card. If I just break it... Natsuhiko picked up the card and snapped it in two. At the same time the man got up. He was still holding the gun in his hand. Is he gonna shoot? No. If I keep running away, I can trap him. Natsuhiko turned back and tried to dash out of the room. Then a gunshot rang out. And Natsuhiko's left arm popped. He shouted against his will. He was struck by intense pain as if he'd been hit with a blunt force weapon in the upper arm, and his brain were burning. Natsuhiko withstood the intense pain and tumbled out of the room. He ran into the fire, applying pressure to his arm. He took the split card and threw it into the blazing flames. A shout shot up from behind him. You think you could break my card and lock me in so I can't chase you, huh? Natsuhiko looked back to see the man standing behind the flames. The man took out another card from his pocket to replace the one Natsuhiko destroyed. Too bad that wasn't my only card. I came prepared. So don't even think you're getting away, communicator. I will find you and I will kill you, I swear. Natsuhiko shook off that voice and ran, and thus began his desperate fight for his life in the underground facility without an exit. He ran recklessly through the factory towards another area, but that area was also wrapped in flames. The heat waves tormenting Natsuhiko. As he ran, his breathing grew rough, blood oozed out of his arm and side, his body was gradually losing strength. Damn it, what do I do? How do I defeat him? The telepathy attack's been working on him. His heart obviously wasn't open, so Natsuhiko couldn't use empathy, and throwing the techniques weren't enough to do any real damage. No matter how much Natsuhiko kept running, he would be overtaken and shot to death. If I at least have some sort of weapon... He looked around and soon realized he could use the fire surrounding him as a weapon. Natsuhiko kicked the burning wall with all his strength. The wallboard tore off and fell to the floor. He held the board to the fire, setting it aflame and as a sort of makeshift torch. Still or die, huh? If I could just hit him in the face with this. And if it worked out, he could blind the man. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko hid himself under cover. Eventually he heard the area gate open. Heavy footsteps approached. Wait for it, don't go until the last second. Natsuhiko lowered his breath, concealed himself completely and waited for the right timing. And then he jumped out of cover and hurled the burning board at the man's face. The man shrank back for a second, The board flew toward his face, but right before impact he swatted it out of the air with his arm. What was that supposed to be? Please, you didn't think this would defeat me, did you? The man spoke in disappointment as he casually shot his gun. A third bullet gouged into Natsuhiko's body, this time into the right leg. He leaned against the wall, but he put up with the pain and forced his legs to run anyway. Is he going to shoot me in the back? He thought so, but the man did not. Instead of a gunshot, he heard a scoffing voice. Don't think I'll just give you the repose of death. That's it. Run, 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 you damn communicator. Just like how we ran in the hospital that night. Oh, the hospital. Wasn't that Q that burned the hospital down? The man kept speaking unintelligibly as he made his leisurely pursuit. Natsuhiko's voice overflowed with bitterness. Damn it! Damn it, damn it, damn it! Natsuhiko cursed over and over as he ran for his life, searching for a way to defeat the man and survive. Searching for a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair. The blood poured endlessly. From his side, his left arm, his right leg. His sight went dark, his body cold. He knew he was losing too much blood. But no matter how bloody he got, no matter how much he ran, he could not find a single weapon to defeat the man. At the end of his aimless run, Natsuhiko arrived in a bizarre place. Oh, Area N. A spacious hall of some sort. Giant cylindrical machines were lined up. Their whirring noises indicated they were operational. What is this place? Natsuhiko did not remember how he'd gotten there. His consciousness kept threatening to cut out. No, who cares about that? Is there anything I can use as a weapon? Natsuhiko's hazy thoughts were drowned out by a gunshot. With another bullet pierced into his left arm, Natsuhiko collapsed to the ground. His brachial artery seemed to have ruptured as a fountain of blood gushed out. I can't. The wound was likely fatal. As Natsuhiko sank into a puddle of blood, the man's voice rained down upon him. So this is where you die. The man had apparently followed him all the way here. Natsuhiko hadn't even realized it. This is the perfect gravesite for you monsters. The man trampled Natsuhiko's hand, smashing the security guard in his grip. Pain ran through his trampled hand, but he could no longer even scream. As Natsuhiko slowly looked up, the man questioned him. How does it feel? Does it hurt? Well, I'm sure it's nowhere near the level of pain the light of my life suffered at the hands of you monsters. But please enjoy your 10,000th of the pain as you die there. Natsuhiko could say nothing. All he could do was question what he just heard. What is he talking about? Who was this light of his life? But before he could find the answer to that question, his vision went dark. The man turned back and said, "After you comes the girl. So long, communicator." Natsuhiko gasped to hear those words. No way he's going to chase Mashido and kill her? In an instant, Natsuhiko's consciousness came rushing back. The desire to protect Mashido roused him. His body had already lost a large volume of blood. He probably didn't have much longer. He had no weapons. Telepathy was useless. But even so, think of a way to stop him. In an instant, Natsuhiko's thoughts ran wild. In the situation devoid of all hope, and inside the endless darkness. He found a single ray of hope. My ability. The power to connect minds rather than just brains. Can I use that to defeat him? When he had connected to Mashido's heart, he had saw her memories as if they were his own. Each memory seemed delicate, fragile, easy to break. But obviously that wasn't reality. It was just a visualization of the brain's activity inside Mashido's head, wasn't it? He had no idea what the underlying principles behind the third ability were. But it felt like diving into people's memories. It was an aberrant BC ability that allowed direct interference with the brain's function. If that's the case, and depending on how I go about it, perhaps I could use it to deal direct damage to his brain. It was hardly a glimmer of hope, but rather nothing more than wishful thinking. But as he thought about it, Natsuhiko remembered something. In particular, he remembered the last of Rokume City's 7 wonders, the one he could not remember when they were telling them to Salia. It was the reverse of wonder number 5, which was, if a communicator uses BC without knowing the proper way, their mind will eventually break. Rokume's 7 wonders, number 7, if a communicator excessively misuses BC, their target's mind will eventually break. Is this what it meant? Can powerful BC really break the target's mind? As soon as he got that idea, Natsuhiko's entire body regained its strength. Natsuhiko stood up and rushed at the man. What? The man turned around and readied his gun. But just a second sooner, Natsuhiko grabbed the man by the wrist. Like hell, I'm gonna let you... The man's face stiffened as Natsuhiko desperately grabbed the man's wrist. Huh? He took a deep breath and focused with all his mind and soul. It was the same as when he'd entered Mashiro's mind. Natsuhiko focused on his intent to expose the man's mind. Not to know it, but to destroy it. That moment, Natsuhiko's vision tumbled into darkness. Alright, it's the same as how it was with Mashiro. Now to destroy his mind and... But what Natsuhiko saw terrified him. What the hell is this? The inside of the man's mind was completely different from Mashiro's. Kill, 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 kill. Communicators aren't human. They're mind-corrupting monsters. This is a monster hunt. Kill or be killed. Kill, 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 kill. The man's distorted thoughts were swirling with tremendous hatred and killing intent. The visions of the memories floated about were likewise warped, ruined, and teeming with malice. The man's mind was devoted to hatred towards communicators. Resentment, indignation, lament, murderous rage, all sorts of negative emotions. Natsuhiko even felt the man's unadulterated emotions that could be neither verbalized nor visualized. Why is it all like this? No, more importantly, I need to destroy these memories. Natsuhiko glared at the fragments of the man's memories. Shatter. The moment he wished for their destruction, the visions burst and faded into the darkness. The man screamed. Natsuhiko snapped back to his senses. The man dropped his gun and gazed at Natsuhiko in dumbfounded terror. That was... My head, it can't be... Not you too. The man babbled ambiguously as he stared fearfully at Natsuhiko. However, Natsuhiko was already at the end of his rope. I can't go on. I can't keep focusing. He glared at the man and tried to use BC, but he couldn't use his abilities. If he got shot by the man again, it would certainly be the end of his life. However... The man turned around and ran like mad. Wait, Natsuhiko tried to chase after him, but collapsed. The man's back faded into the distance. His mind is abnormal. Why would he hate communicators so much? Natsuhiko couldn't believe it. What could drive someone to hate others so much? Someone like that is dangerous. Someone like that can't be allowed to exist. But Natsuhiko could no longer move so much as a finger. Damn it, I can't move anymore. Am I gonna die here? Natsuhiko's consciousness faded. The feeling of death loomed over him. But at that moment, Mashiro came to mind. No, I can't die here, not now. If I leave that terrorist alive, he'll kill Mashiro. So at the very least, I need to stop that man. The moment that thought crossed his mind, the final flame of life ignited within Natsuhiko. He wasn't dead just yet. He still had his sight, his hearing, his touch, his smell, his taste, and his pain sensitivity. As long as he was alive, he'd keep going until that final flame died out. Natsuhiko forced his body up. His hazy eyes caught sight of the man trying to leave the room. You're not getting away. As he steeled his fading consciousness, Natsuhiko focused with all his mind. Show me all the memories that compose his mind. And the moment that thought crossed his mind, countless visions twinkled in the darkness. This is all I can do now, so please work. Shatter. Natsuhiko used the last of his BC to destroy the man's mind, to destroy his enemy's inexhaustible malice. He crammed in malice of his own that surpassed it, and at that moment, the man's scream echoed from somewhere. After a split second, the man's body collapsed. Natsuhiko could no longer see, only hear, but he was convinced that he'd destroyed the man's mind. As he heard the sound of the gate closing, Natsuhiko's lips curled up in a faint smile. I did it. Now he can't attack Mashiro anymore. And with that conviction in his mind, all strength left his body. His body grew cold, his sight grew dark. It was as if all his senses had diluted, as if he'd become a mere spirit floating in the air. He felt like a ripple in the water. Death was near. But he was fine with that. As long as he was able to protect her. Natsuhiko's mind filled with warmth. And after that, suddenly, nothingness swooped down upon him. In his fading consciousness, Natsuhiko thought, that he'd finally accomplished something at the end of his 16 years of life. Thank goodness. I saved Mashido. He was able to repay his debt of 9 years. I erased the malice. He prided himself in that feat as he prayed. So please, I hope that this never happens again. No more tragedies. But that desire eventually disappeared as well. Mashido. At the end of his vague thoughts, he thought faintly about the girl who was precious to him. And then Natsuhiko's consciousness sank into the darkness. But we know he survived. That means Mashido survived too. But what about Salyu? At that time, somewhere in the basement floors of Labo, there was a girl desperately trying to pull her consciousness together as well. Did I lose too much blood? In her hand, she grasped a single ampule of medication. She stuck it in her arm with wavering hands. And somewhere else, 2 female rescue squad members spoke with heavy expressions on their face. We lost radio contact with the commander again. What about the captain's team? Still can't get through to them either. The woman gritted her teeth as she glared at the radio. Captain? And she worried about her squad mates. The other girl furrowed her eyebrows. On the lower floor, another woman nearly crawled on the ground to escape the encroaching fire and smoke. Damn it. Like hell I'm gonna die here. She gave a voice to her conviction and ran for her life. And finally, somewhere far away from there, in the darkness of a section everyone had forgotten, lay a lone girl. The random girl. She slowly got up. That's Yuri. It was the girl who had been inside the boy's mind. The girl who had died here 9 years ago. She looked around and murmured in an empty voice, Hikida? However, her words fell on no ears, but dissolved into the darkness instead. Is that the good end or the bad end? I don't fucking know. Continuation of Route Double? But that's going back the other way, isn't it?
男は無数の謎に翻弄され、信じていたものにさえ疑われ、ついに力尽きた。だがそんな彼を影から見続けてきた少年がいた。彼は知っている。男が聞き続けてきた幻聴の正体を。少年が男の凶弾に倒れ、そして再び起き上がるまでにあの場所で何が起きたのか。それは描かれることのなかったもう一つのサバイバル。少年が傍観することをやめ、自ら立ち上がると決めたとき、物語は終局に向けて動き出す。ルートダブル、ビフォアクライム、アフターデイズ、ルートカレント、過去と未来。今、2つのルートが1つに重なり合う。
Oh my god, before, there was after, then before, now current. Current unlocked. A new scenario has been added to the route selection menu. You unlocked answer mode for route B. You selected answer during SSS input for route B. Oh, by selecting, you can choose. Okay, cool. So that must have been the true ending for route B. By accident. Maybe, I mean, there was less endings, right? So if I click new game, we've got after, before, and now current. And there's only one ending. Okay. Alright, well, we'll wrap this one up here because it's been a long episode, but it looks like we have one more route to finally figure out if Salyu's going to get out of there, who the hell that other girl is, whether Yuri really exists. Like, there was that bit where when we were doing route after, we were controlling Watase, and Watase was chasing after Yuri and cornered her by the elevators, and then he freaked out because he thought she was going to break his mind or whatever, like he just did, but she doesn't exist. So what the fuck? Oh well, I guess we'll find out in the next one. I hope. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.